What is going on, boys, girls, and everybody in between? We are here talking about how Caleb Williams is probably going to be an NFL bust. Now, you know what you're thinking. This dude's crazy. He's one of the best prospects coming out ever. And that's why I think he's going to be a bust. This is because there's so much hype put around him. There's three main reasons why I don't think he's won much in college. Both years, he's now officially lost 3 games. Now, he's had great stats and not a great defense in college, so it could be kind of understandable on why he might not be winning all these games because it's hard to win when your defense is like, I think he was 94th last year and 114th so far this year. That does make it a recipe hard to consistently win football games, but I think it really still comes down to quarterbacks win football games. We see it in the National Football League, we see it in college all the time. And I think the other thing is a lot of people are saying he would have went number one in basically every draft except for Andrew Luck for some reason. I don't see Andrew Luck being the guy who would be the one dude maybe coming straight out of college, but also like do we not forget what Joe Burrow and T Law were doing in college? So we're saying that what he's doing is greater than what those two did. And on top of that, now thinking about what we know about what those two are doing in the NFL, we think he's going to be better than them. Don't forget, Joe Burrow has taken the Bengals to a Super Bowl, to an AFC championship. The Jags all of a sudden look like a Super Bowl contending team now with T Law. So I'm saying I think it's a little crazy to say he would go number one over those guys, especially when you sit there and think T Law was going number one overall in his freshman year. I mean, let's be honest here. Whenever he could go into the draft, he was going number one overall. Joe Burrow had probably the greatest season in college football history that year that he took LSU all the way to the national championship and won. He got the job done. So I don't think Caleb Williams will quite be able to do it. And I think a big reason why he's going to be a bust is I don't think he has the mentality that some of these other guys have had. Some of the stuff that he talks about, how he wants partial ownership. Now, I do know that was kind of taken out of context slightly. So I'm not too holding that against him. But just in general, stuff like that, or like he will re-declare back to the college football, back to USC, if a team that he didn't want drafts him. But it's like at the end of the day, you're going to get drafted by a bad team. I know like you're not going to go to one of the best teams in the NFL. It's just not going to happen. Because guess what? Those teams have their quarterbacks. They're not drafting at one. And if the Cardinals or one of those teams, the Bears, are drafting at one, I don't see them passing on him right now. It's just would be stupid of them to do so because he looks like a great prospect. But this is also a deep quarterback class, so none of these other teams like the Vikings or something are probably going to trade up for him when they can get somebody like Drake May or the Washington quarterback who just beat Caleb Williams. Now, he didn't look as good as Caleb last night, but he still beat him. Draft him over those guys. So I don't see how we can make the argument that Caleb Williams is going to be this crazy over the top prospect when we haven't seen what we've seen out of guys like Joe Burrow and T Law before the NFL, even in my opinion. He just puts up great stats, but it's not winning stats. So a team also, like if you think about it, a team like the Cardinals or the Bears draft him, that is instantly a worse situation than if a team that is ready to win, building to win, trying to win. Take Lamar Jackson. He would have failed in so many different organizations. I don't care how good he is right now. He went to one of the best organizations in football, and I'm a Ravens fan, so obviously I'm going to say that, but he did go to one of the best organizations in football, and look, he's succeeding significantly. I think if he was the guy who the Bills drafted, it probably wouldn't have worked. If the Bears drafted him, probably wouldn't have worked. If the Jets drafted him, probably wouldn't work. And that's where Caleb Williams is going to find himself. He's going to get drafted to one of these bad teams. And can he turn that team around like Joe Burrow did with the Bengals, who was a dysfunctional team when they drafted him? Or even somebody like T Law turning around Jacksonville, who's been pretty damn dysfunctional since they drafted him. I don't know if Caleb Williams is the mentality or the mental strength to do that because I just don't see him being the same guy as those two. Obviously, those two are not the same play style either at the end of the day. But, a lot of guys who come out and succeed significantly, especially early on, because if Caleb Williams comes out in his first season and looks downright bad, the NFL is quick to move on or at least somewhat give up on you. And he doesn't have that underdog mentality that some of these other top tier quarterbacks like Mahomes, Brady, Lamar, Allen even had coming into this draft. Tua, all these guys had this tough road to get here, and Caleb Williams is like instantly number one, and he's debating on going back to college just to try to get a team that's not the Cardinals or Bears, pretty much. Actually, I think he did say he wanted to play for the Bears. I don't know why, but he did. So I just think that like the expectation of him being this great prospect would have gone number one in almost every draft class in like the last 20 years, except for maybe Andrew Luck's draft class. I think that thought process is a little bit nuts and is setting him up for failure in the long haul, because it's nearly impossible to live up to that expectation. And I think he's going to bust, and I think he's going to struggle in his first year, especially if he's playing for a team like the Cardinals, who, outside of Hollywood Brown, who do they have on offense? They have no defense. Or the Bears, they got DJ Moore, but you've seen Fields couldn't succeed. Trubisky couldn't succeed. Cutler couldn't succeed. All these quarterbacks could not succeed in the Bears system because they are just not well run. It's kind of like the Jets and the Browns. You don't want to go to those teams because they're not the best quarterback-friendly teams. Quarterback after quarterback after quarterback bust. Also, I have this crazy thought process, I guess, conspiracy theory, that USC does not develop quarterbacks very well. I can't think of one that's came out that hasn't bust, at least recently, maybe like back in the 90s or something, but Matt Leinart was not very good. Sam Darnold was bad, and I believe Mark Sanchez went there, and he was the best of the three, and he was pretty mediocre himself. So could Caleb Williams be as good as those guys? I mean, he's projected to be better than those guys right now in college, and he's been better than those guys in college. But can he really take that step and become this GOAT-level quarterback that we think he's going to be coming out of college, when he's lost 3 games in college football 2 years in a row in one of the easiest Power 5 conferences, or is it Power 5? Yeah, Power 5 conference. He's lost 3 games in the Pac-12. Now, I don't think all of them were against Pac-12 opponents. I don't watch college football like that. I just know this because I looked into it before the video. But I just don't see him succeeding like people think he will. I mean, Nick Wright's already got him on his quarterback pyramid, and he's above like half the quarterbacks that are currently playing in the NFL, which is mind-boggling, because who knows, he might not be anywhere near as good as those guys. He might look like Bryce Young. Like, let's be honest here. He might look like Bryce Young coming into next year. Not saying Bryce Young won't succeed. He probably will. I think he's got a bigger chance of looking like Bryce Young than he would CJ Stroud right now, or Anthony Richardson, even when he was healthy. I think he's going to look like Bryce Young. I don't think he's going to be awful, but I don't think he's going to be able to live up to his expectation, which, in the end of the day, if you don't live up to that, then you are kind of a bust to a point. Now, I do think there's a good chance he might suck, because I just don't think he's mentally as strong as some of these other dudes coming in. He's been that guy, and it's hard to succeed like that. I mean, T-Law struggled to get started, and he was that guy who was always the guy. But if you sit there and think, a lot of these quarterbacks that come in with a chip on their shoulder, they go out and succeed unbelievably, not maybe the first year, but they show flashes first year, and then the second year they blow us out of the water. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. He fell to 32nd overall in the draft class. He came out first year, he showed flashes, second year MVP. So I think that the hype around Caleb Williams will make him a bust if he doesn't come out here and play like CJ Stroud in particular. I mean, I guess we're talking about current rookie quarterbacks playing at a high level. If he comes out and plays like Bryce Young or even T-Law in his rookie year, I think there's gonna be a lot of criticism on him and a lot of just instantly dogging him because of the expectation we have for him, and it just won't work in his favor. But if you guys enjoy this type of video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.